Town of Huntsville, stand for the pledge, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Peter Somerville, Town Councilman.
Ed Denarkin, Town Councilman. John Dolce, Town Supervisor.
Randy Bates, Town Councilman.
Brian Wood, Town Councilman. Victoria Craker, the Town Clerk, is here. Probably shouldn't talk too much until she gets back. She's gotta hit her recorder.
Victoria, where are you?
Here she comes. Now she's going back. Oh, man. Gives me no click. I'm gonna call her John when she comes in.
Hell, we could have been done with this by now.
Yeah, it could have been done if you were at the meeting at the time. Just say Victoria Craigstown.
The clock is wrong.
No.
I've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah,
It's 6:59, really. It is.
Actually,
she's right.
6:59.
Well, say Victoria Craker Town Clerk.
Victoria Craker Town Clerk.
There you go. I'll hit record.
Okay, just, real quick, we have a new owl. It's a camera and video, camera and audio. And, we're testing it out to see how our televised meetings go. And it's very sensitive, so don't say anything under your breath. Okay. All right, audience comments, anyone? Any audience comments, please? If not, I want to move on to the minutes, the public hearing on the proposed local law number 2, the fee schedule.
I'll move we accept the minutes of the public hearing and proposed local law number 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Also, April 11th, regular meeting minutes.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of the regular meeting on April 11th, 2024.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. That motion's carried. Okay, there are no budget modifications or transfers. I'll make a motion to pay all signed vouchers and bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. On the old business, I'm going to open and award the bids for mowing, baling, and removal of the hay between the town hall and the public safety building, which we do every year.
I only have one bid.
And apparently there's only one, maybe.
Guess that'll be easy to award. Unless they're charging us.
And this is for bid for the use of the 3 town hayfields. Jason Roth bid $66 annually for use of the 3 hayfields. He has his bidding certificate, and non-collusive bidding certificate enclosed, and his insurance. So I'll make a motion to award Jason Roth the bid to use the 3 hayfields. You know, the only question I have, it says $66 annually. Is this a 3-year bid
Yes.
Oh,
instead of doing it every year?
that's fine. Okay.
Okay,
I'll second your motion.
all in favor?
Alright,
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Okay,
get that much.
moving on to the parking lot, resurfacing its specification. We had originally had 1-inch overlay type 6. Jason upped it after conversing with different paving companies to 1.5 inches. So that's the only amendment.
You need a motion to amend it?
We do need a motion to amend it.
Make a motion to amend the bid for the parking lot paving project.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good? Motion carried. You have hesitancy.
Just a bit. Talk about it when it comes back.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. The town highway agreement we have to amend.
Why?
It's the same dollar amount, but he inadvertently did not put in Seabrook Road.
Okay. So what did he do? Just cut some of the other ones back?
No, he just, the total was correct.
Oh, but if we added up all the roads, it wouldn't have equaled 410, 490?
410, 490. 582, 630.
Must be looking at something.
Yeah. New York State, that's for CHIPS money. CHIPS and local budget.
Yeah. Oh, on the bottom, okay. So it's just a typo?
He just,
An oversight, yeah.
an oversight in adding that road. That's the only difference. So I'll make a motion to amend that 2024 town highway agreement.
One second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Moving on to the Q-Hall Endowment Fund Grant applications. I just want to mention that I have received some emails about, their individual applications, and I told them that I did not read any of, the town board did not read any of the
Okay, so
applications.
I have something to talk and it explains all that stuff.
Okay,
So
please stand up, Rosie, so,
I am,
if you can.
so I've had a major shoulder setback and I don't know what the problem is.
Or come closer, so those hard of hearing.
I can be loud.
Good.
So I'm just gonna read just a little bit, so people that haven't been following will have an idea what we're talking about. So Jeffrey Arthur Bowe gave part of his estate to the town of Rensselaerville to be used to support the citizens of Rensselaerville. Before his death, he spoke to me that he wanted to honor the volunteers in the town. Jeffrey never finalized his wishes with his lawyer or the town of Rensselaerville. The money from his trust has been placed in what we know is the Q-Har Endowment Fund. Who was Jeffrey? He was born on September 11th, 1952 in Stratford, Connecticut. He was the third of 4 children. His mother was Marie Q-Har, and she married Robert Bowe, who was from Vermont. Marie was a sister to my father James and my uncles John, William, and Thomas, all Rensselaerville citizens. Jeffrey received his bachelor's degree from Sam Houston University in Texas and returned to Connecticut to continue his education and work for the Connecticut Department of Social Services as an investigator for the fathers who didn't pay their child support. Jeffrey married Polly, a popular math teacher in a local school district. Polly had a hereditary kidney disease and had received 3 kidney transplants. Jeffrey developed juvenile diabetes while he was in college and affected his health the rest of his life and eventually led to kidney failure. During his last few years of life, he was on home dialysis. After Jeffrey and Polly retired, they sold their Connecticut home and moved to Charlottesville, Virginia. They wanted a warmer climate and to be near a major medical center. Polly developed cancer and she died on September 8, 2016. Jeffrey never recovered from her death. He held 2 funerals for her, one at the church in Charlottesville, a second in Stratford, Connecticut, and then he had her body transported to Rensselaerville to be buried next to his parents and grandparents. At Polly's burial, Jeffrey said, "It's not fair, I was supposed to die first." After Polly's death, Jeffrey's health deteriorated and he died on November 24th, 2020 in Charlottesville, Virginia. Other than the cemetery, what was Jeffrey's connection with Rensselaerville? His grandparents lived on a rocky, poor, hilly farm just above my house. As a teenager, Jeffrey spent many weeks each summer at his grandparents'. He must have had some very happy memories of his grandparents' town. My memories of him at that time was playing tennis on the playground and swimming in Lake Minnesotas. He would lay on his back and float, and I would just sing. He also must have been influenced by the hours he saw my father volunteering for the village playground and fire company, and his cousins Barry and Mike as they gave to their town on the ambulance squad and Barry was also a firefighter. Last summer, the town of Rensselaerville had an open meeting looking for ideas how to honor him and share the endowment with the township. At that time, my brother and I presented the idea to create a community grant proposal. Later in the year, the board decided to have the endowment be used for community grants. I have met with John Dolce several times in the last 8 months, working through this process. In September, a committee of 5, with myself as the chair, Catherine Seguli of Medusa, Larry Tompkins of Rensselaerville, Amanda Ronconi of Potter's Hollow, and Anthony Giordano of Preston Hollow started meeting as we created a grant policy for the town board, plus the guidelines and an application for the grants. We shared it with the town board for their approval in November. The committee has met several times since September and was responsible for reviewing and evaluating the grant applications. We realized through this process that the policy and guidelines would need some updates before the 2025 grant year. The one goal of the grants was to involve citizens and groups throughout the town of Rensselaerville, hoping they would reflect the needs of all, from the youth and even the senior citizens. The grants would help to make the town a welcoming place to live and show community support. We reached out to established organizations, but we also had a category for startups. Startups were for citizens that saw a need and wanted to tackle it. The grants were focused on community, so religious and political groups were exempt from applying. Tonight, the QHAR Endowment Fund Committee is here to present the names of the organizations or projects that we recommended be awarded the 2024 grants. The budget we had to work with this year was approximately $23,008. The amount of interest accumulated from January 1st through December 31st of 2023. The committee requested that 10% be held back for future use. The committees are all volunteer community citizens. We looked at each grant application without being influenced by what the town had in the yearly budget. We also exempted ourselves from voting on any application that we had any connection to. Each application was voted on separately and received yes votes. Of the grants we recommend this year, the total comes to $17,265, which leaves a surplus above the available amount we had, and we request that this surplus amount be added to the 2024 grant monies, because we anticipate that there's going to be more organizations and things applying next year now that the word is out. We had one application that was postmarked after the deadline. The application was never given to us. It was destroyed unopened. Therefore, the town board cannot notify them that they did not receive a grant. From what I understand, the procedure for grants is that a letter is usually sent explaining why a grant was not awarded and encouraging them to apply for future grants. As a committee, we request that all grant applications be given to us in the 2025 year. So I don't know if you would like to vote, ask me questions, if you would like to vote on each one separately. I'm ready to read each one out loud.
No, so I'd like to, first I want to comment on this, okay? So we had, at the last meeting, and after speaking to the attorney, he was here, and not to upset you, but if there's $23,000 available, you have to give it all out. You cannot carry it over the following year.
We did not have requests for more than this amount.
Well, yeah, you don't have to give it all out, but you just, thinking was that you can't carry it over.
Well, that's my point, is that you
Right.
can't carry it
Or
over.
whatever's not given out
It cannot be carried over the following year.
is what was recommended.
That's what the discussion was at the last meeting. The holdback of 10% is not so much for future use, but to keep money in the account, which is about $860,000. The 10% is in case the interest rates go down. We're not gonna have that money, so we're not going to use that 10%. It's gonna be there in the fund to continue the fund. We're hoping that this fund goes to perpetuity. So in looking forward at the interest rates, if they go down, at least with a higher principal amount, we'll be getting close, or hopefully close to the same interest of $23,000. So,
And that was the purpose why we recommended that.
yep, you know, I just, and I'm guilty of this, and I'm going to, the committee came up with guidelines, and I specifically followed the guidelines. We had someone put in an application after February 29th. Okay, it was from an individual. It wasn't from, and we just shredded it. I didn't read it, she didn't read it, I didn't give it to her. You know, maybe I should have, but if you set guidelines for a certain date, after that, it's done. I don't feel that we should go back and visit, oh, well, you know, they couldn't get to the post office and stuff like that. If it's postmarked after whatever date you guys pick, it's done. So I should have given it to the committee, but I didn't. I just shrugged. And it was from an individual person. If it was from the fire department that did not apply for this, I would have at least said, you know what, guys, you messed up. You better pay closer attention next year. So whatever guidelines you set, I follow, the board follow.
I think in my career, it's just been easier when you set a guideline or you set a rule, right? It's a rule. You put out that you're better off just sticking with it because you're always going to have somebody that does it that opens up the Pandora box to, well, the next year two people do it. I'll give you case in point, the possibility of using the town car to do something for a private citizen. Like we decided that's a bad idea because it sets precedent. So like, when do you stop it? So like this year it's 1, next year it's 2, next year after that it's 3, and then you're up to 10 people and then we just set precedent that it's okay. It's just easier to just say.
And it's just as the chair for the committee, we definitely wouldn't have accepted that application.
But I also agree with you. Like, I think that
But they need to know that the
you were
reason we
selected.
didn't accept it was because it was
Postmarked.
postmarked March 1st.
Yep, and I do, we should do that.
And I agree.
Yep.
That I made a
So in the
mistake.
future, that's,
Yep.
one of our recommendations.
Yeah, no, as long as you're gonna send out a letter, I mean, I'm assuming that you probably was able to satisfy most of your requests anyways, but if you,
I was over the moon that we satisfied
yeah, no, I think it's great.
everyone that followed the rules.
Is it
One of
that,
them,
is it that hard for you to take the $2,743 and just split it up and add it to those grant numbers?
Well, unfortunately, we didn't get an application from the Medusa Fire Company. I'm not sure why, and,
I heard why, because they didn't get their act together.
okay.
Yeah, so next year is a good time to do it.
I mean, one of my suggestions for next year, because we had 5 organizations that we were automatically giving them $1,000 if they did an application. And 4 out of the 5 got it in by the deadline. But then we looked at several other organizations that asked for $1,500, and we really didn't say, we're gonna give you $1,000, but if you wanna apply for a little bit more than that, you can. So that's like one of the things that we may need to, tweak a little bit for next year. But,
Yeah, I mean,
it was a learning experience. We
Yeah.
had no idea anything about grants.
speaking from, and I will abstain from the vote, obviously, speaking as a Tri-Village firefighter, $1,000 is great to us. I mean, I couldn't get the application in fast enough once I got it, because $1,000, $500, and $250 is a huge help to us. But, I would ask that since you did award some that were in the $1,500 range, just let it read our application and see what we're looking for, and you should be clear at what you're gonna wanna buy. If I wanna buy one turnout coat, just one jacket
Yeah,
for a
I know.
firefighter is $2,500, so you know, if there's a few extra bucks, throw it away. If not, like I said, $1,000 is better than 500, but 500 beats 250, and I'll take 250 over nothing any day.
And that was our whole
And I appreciate,
concept, I guess.
I appreciate the committee's work in doing it. I mean, I think it's a huge thing for the community to do this type of thing, and there's a lot of things on there that I am surprised, that
And-
didn't show up.
And from my personal point of view, I wanted the money to go throughout the whole township.
Yeah.
And
You
it
did a
was,
great job.
and it was very hard to get the word out. And part of that was the town board decided to change the policies after the deadline that they were supposed to be out. The Rensselaerville Library put it on there. They have a newsletter that goes out every week. And the moment that I tweaked whatever you suggested, they immediately went in and, you know, fixed it. I handed out, papers, people, applications. I also, the day before, I had several phone calls just asking my advice, and part of we had problems getting a, email address, right, Vicki? So that I thought if an email address would come through the town, then it would be my personal one. So that's one we've still got to work on so that, you know, the committee can look at any questions that come in through the town and see if we can answer them, but,
I would caution you to, with the 2,700, in my opinion, would be 2,700 should be split up amongst the award recipients. I don't care if you give it to all one or whoever. I would caution giving it to, because you're just gonna do the same thing. You're opening Pandora's box because you give it to a fire department that didn't apply. What about a cemetery that didn't apply, or a church that didn't apply? You said churches don't
so
count.
that's really gonna be, you know, your decision. I do want to read what all the ones that applied and what we voted yes on so that the, audience would know.
I mean, how long is it gonna take?
Oh, it isn't gonna take long,
I mean, I don't mind if you just print it out and we leave it.
because I'm gonna do it really quick.
But one other thing, Rosie,
Sure.
for next year, we've got a year to adjust the policy.
Oh, exactly, that's,
So before next year,
oh, yeah,
the board needs,
before they go
a
out next
policy to
year,
follow.
we've gotta come back in front of you and say, these are the things we need to tweak, or whatever you guys come up with. The other thing that we came up with is like, it's the town board that is, giving the money to the grant winners. So we really don't feel that we should be writing as a committee, because we were supposed to be just an advisory committee, that the letter needs to be coming from the town board, and I have, as I said, I've had no experience with grants, so I wouldn't even know what you would say. The other thing that John said many months ago is that he would like to invite all the recipients to come in for a quote photo op and receive their checks. But as a town, you're gonna have to come up with like the date that would happen, and this money needs to be given by June 1st. So I'm just gonna go through these real quick. One's called Halls Mills Cats to reduce the large number of unowned cats roaming the village of Medusa. They were gonna be working with Animal Kind, a nonprofit veterinary clinic in Hudson, and their total they asked was for $1,600.
for 600.
600, oh, that would be lovely, wouldn't it?
Well, you actually-
Giving that money away.
The next one, I have been working closely with them because we as a committee realized they were trying to put stuff on private property and on county road property. So they cut back their grant a lot and changed it, so they're known as the Blooming Together, the Medusa Beautification Committee, to revitalize the heart of the village by planting flowers at the memorial and trying to get some youths involved. So they're now only requesting $300. The Bandit Potter Hollow Cemetery Organization, they want to restore a small abandoned cemetery on Scott Patton Road. I think it's right across from the big cemetery, and it's right full of poison ivy. So they need to repair the stones, kill the poison ivy, work on the trees and brush and trim and remove them. They want to see if they can get some kids to help. They want to repair the stones, buy some, it's called D2, it's used to clean the stones. and they asked between $500 and $1,000. So those were what we called startups. They were just a group of citizens, and our requirement was there had to be at least 3 citizens to make this committee. It couldn't be a one-person thing. The organizations that automatically would get $1,000 were the Rensselaer Cemetery, and they're gonna use theirs to fill the sunken graves. We also offered them a one-time $500 one to clean the fence that's along the highway, which is it needs to be power washed and repaired. Tri-Village Fire Company requested money to go towards Turnout or Scott's Air Pack. And the Rensselaer Volunteer Fire Company asked for the same purpose. The Rensselaer Playground, they're not sure what they're gonna spend the money on, but it's gonna be something that the kids can use, and they're gonna be working with the town on, before the end of the year on how to spend that money. The community organizations, the Rensselaer Senior Citizens, asked for $1,500 to be used to help fray the cost of buses or fees for their senior citizens trips. The Rensselaerville Library asked for $1,500 to expand the children's book collection and the children's programming at the Medusa Annex, and to expand the material that are in the main library children's room. The Ian Height Preserve, and we were kind of impressed with this one because it was targeting senior citizens. This would be the first time they'd be able to offer an adult education program in the fall. The grant would be to cover hiring an educator and other staff members and to buy notebooks. And they had a breakdown to the penny of where all the money would go, and it came up to $1,465. The American Legion Auxiliary asked for $400 to complete the replica of the 1942 World War II honor roll by placing military emblems for the Navy, Army, Air Force, Marine Corps, and Coast Guards on the back of their sign. The American Legion Clark Post requested $750, and there's over 200 American flags placed on 10 cemeteries in the town of Rensselaer every Memorial Day, plus at the flag poles in the 3 main cemeteries and at the playground. And the Legion is trying to document some of the unmarked veterans' graves, so the money would be going towards building bases. They have been able to identify 2 World War I soldiers. The Potter Hollow Union Church has requested $1,000, and it's for their swap shop. And it's not a thrift store, but it meets the needs of our community by providing free access to clothing. And I also believe that's where the food pantry is located. The building that is used for the swap shop is in serious need of repair, and the grant would be going towards the repairs. The Rensselaer Historical Society would like to put a sign at the corner where County Route 353 and County Route 10 near Crystal Lake is located. We've got a volunteer who's been cleaning that cemetery, and we've got a neighbor to the cemetery that's willing to make a wooden sign. And we were thinking of calling it the Williamsburg Cemetery, because in the 1865 map, that's what that area was known as. The Medusa Cemetery asked for $1,500 to make improvements for general maintenance, including removing a dirt pile, a new fence, painting a sign, and repairing the vault. And Conklin Hall requested $1,500 to buy 6 square folding tables and a folding table dolly that they would be able to move them around on. So it's up to you guys what you want to do or how you want to vote on this. As a committee, we voted on each one separately, and I gave the town board a copy of that. We also exempted ourselves if we were part of that organization. And
John, I like your idea if you want to do something a night during the beginning of a town board meeting where I wouldn't make that an exception to the rule, but have it so they have opportunity to come for a little photo thing with the town, with the committee members if they're so inclined to do it. But I also think that in response to your concern last month about where the money goes and how it's spent, obviously we don't have time to watch every little thing they spend on. My opinion is they should voucher the town with receipts for stuff that they've had, and then we can give them the award. That's what a lot of grants are common for. You go out and buy something, you submit that for the grant. None of these are grants to buy a new vehicle or something where they would be dependent upon that grant to do it. I think it's just safest for the accountability of the grant. It would be clean for us to show that it was done.
Okay, so let me just go on. So part of our grant proposal was they've got from January 1st, and I think we're giving them 15 or 20 days to have receipts for everything, or they just are disqualified for future grants. Several of the startups are gonna give you receipts. They're gonna spend the money themselves.
Right.
The rest of them all, I would say, have checking accounts and banks, so I've taken the application and I've highlighted, you know, where a check could be made out to, which would be like to the Rensselaer Historical Society or the Rensselaer Cemetery Association. So, and I've got copies of that to, you know, to hand to Vicki.
Yeah, I just think that for us, we want to make sure that when we get the check, that it's going to where it said it was gonna go to,
Well, and,
you know?
I mean, we really tried to think of everything that,
Yeah.
you know, we could do.
Yeah, I think that if it was on like if the committee here, if you legitimately believed that there was some organization that you were helping that needed that money to do the job, that they couldn't front it. I just looked down this list and most of them are established organizations. They should have money to front and then get reimbursed. Like, unless you can tell me somebody that isn't, you know.
Well, this is just an example. Right now, the Historical Society is trying to paint the back of their, so we've got about $30,000 in our checking account. And it's gonna cost over $16,000 to do the 4 stories out the back, so.
Well, right, but how much money was the historic?
I think
They were asking for
1,500.
$1,500.
And that was the most any organization asked for, which I was very impressed with. They didn't ask, you know, for the moon.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, so like if, you know, you have 30,000, you spend 16 on painting, you still got
So
14. And once you were gonna buy a sign, right? So
Well, we're gonna pay somebody to make the sign.
pay, you know, once they invoice you, you know, get the invoice and bring it down.
So I want to interject. Remember, we're still dealing with the state on this fund.
Right,
So we need
the actual final approval,
We
right?
need to, right, before we dispense the funds, I spoke to the attorney last Tuesday. So we have time for June 1st. He's saying that we're gonna have an answer, but it's the Attorney General that, for whatever reason, I don't wanna muddy the waters, but is involved with this. So the more vouchers we could say, like the Senior Citizens Club, it's $1,500. We give them $1,000 every year for exactly this reason. So the same thing with the American Legion. We give them $1,000 for the flags. There's gotta be, as a town, we give this money out. Remember, I'm not gonna muddy this now, but then the American Legion, if they needed it, they should have asked for $1,750.
See, this is where we were coming from. We don't care what you have in your budget. We
Right,
were looking
yeah.
at the community and how.
I don't think he means that, he doesn't mean that we care what they have in their budget.
No, but I mean, we didn't look at the town budget to see who you gave money to. We looked at.
No, that's not what he's
No,
saying.
that's
What
not.
he's saying is they asked us for $1,000 to buy flags. They shouldn't have asked you for $1,000.
Well, they're not asking it to buy flags. They're asking it to make these bases, to put these stones for the unknown soldiers that they're just now being able to identify.
Oh, okay. I thought you said they were looking. to
Well,
buy
no, they were trying to explain what their mission was.
Okay, all right. So you understand what we're saying, like,
Yeah, well,
don't come and say to us, because then you're trying to cherry pick, right? You know, that's all.
Because part of the policy, Tony, I'm gonna ask you if, didn't we say, and I have no problem with this, it's you guys are the committee, okay, whatever you say goes. But I have guidelines to follow. We did talk originally that if people are coming these committees come to the town for $1,000. If they're going to, and we give them the $1,000 and they need more, maybe next year they should be asking for $1,750.
Right.
That's all, that was what I meant. Just to
Yeah,
clarify.
well, I understand that, because I've talked with you a lot, and I should,
So it's not,
I just like to knock heads.
Yeah, and it was, excuse me, it was also talked about that these grants would be supplemental to funds the town gave an organization. It wouldn't replace those funds.
Yeah, well, I realize that.
right, exactly, that was explained.
I guess what I'm saying, as a committee, we have no idea what organizations ask the town for money.
Yeah, no, as you should. I mean, that's,
So we try to be really,
I think.
and
you've been
and
fair.
Catherine has,
The only question, well, one of the questions I have is, how long will it take to be reimbursed?
2
So-
weeks.
It should, is there, something that people will know?
It's usually, we have a town board meeting, and how long after a town board meeting do you cut checks for vouchers? That's really what it is. We have a town board meeting every 2 weeks. We sign vouchers every 2 weeks. And then you would,
On a Thursday and then Tuesday,
so
the
the next
checks.
Tuesday, the checks go out, so.
And our town procurement policy, it's not difficult to follow. We require an invoice and a voucher. An invoice can be a handwritten invoice. Some person can say that they did X for X amount of dollars, they sign it, they attach it to a voucher. And then, we would approve those vouchers. We meet twice a month. Our bi-monthly meeting, we approve the vouchers, and Carolyn would issue a check the following week typically.
Yeah.
So the turnover is very quick, and the invoices are easy. We accept almost anything as an invoice, as long as it's reasonable and understandable. It's not a formal
so the
process.
invoice is only after they've spent the money out of their own pocket.
Not necessarily. If they, for instance, Medusa Beautification Flowers, if they go to, say, Stories Nursery,
Well-
and they buy $300 worth of flowers, Stories can invoice the town directly.
I mean, that was one of the organizations that were going to just give you receipts to get reimbursed.
Right. Either way, but I'm saying there's ways of doing it that ultimately what it gives all of us accountability.
Well, and it would
of
also
where the
make it-
money went.
Make them spend the money up front.
Right. Plus, you gotta understand too, it takes out of your hair the issue of next year saying, sorry, you're not eligible for a grant because you didn't do it right. They did it, they'd be forced to do it right off the bat and invoice the town. The other thing too is I get an invoice so if I buy a turnout coat in Tri-Village, I'm gonna get an invoice for it. It's gonna cost me $2,500. I'm gonna get that. I have 30 days to pay it. I can turn that in here, get the money from it, and then I actually probably have 30 days from the end of that
Right,
invoice
right, right.
period, so it ends up being probably as much as 60. And so I could do it. So I mean, I would certainly be willing to work with you or whoever, or Carolyn. If there was somebody that's that hard where they applied for something and they
They
couldn't
need the
do
money.
it, and they needed the money up front, we could figure out a way that whoever's doing the work could invoice us directly. But I mean, let's be real, like the stuff that you just went down through there, I'm pretty sure there's probably not anybody on there. The only one that I heard out of the whole thing would have been like the Medusa Beautification Committee or that Potter Hollow, abandoned Potter Hollow Cemetery Organization.
And they also know that they've got to give you receipts.
Right. So that was,
So I went back and I talked to these,
yeah,
So I'm guessing whoever volunteers to write the letter to let these people know that they
we'll put it
received
in
it, that this is part of the procedure
Got
that,
that in the letter.
of how the town,
I'll work with Vicky on that. You mind working with me on that? I'll
Yeah,
work
we
with
could
Vicky and-
explain the reimbursement procedures.
Yeah,
yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And,
Yeah. and you
I
guys
will
are
give
giving the.
Vicky all the contact information for each organization, so.
Yeah, when we do the photo op, I know you kind of smirk with the photo op because it all sounds political, which
No,
clearly.
no,
Clearly it's political,
but
right?
the thing is, you've got to pick that time before you can send the letter out.
Well, yeah,
That's what I
that's
was-
easy. We'll just do it at a town board meeting. We're not gonna do a special meeting and come here enough. But like, you guys should be part of it. You did the work. Like, so you guys should be acknowledged for the work that you did. It's not just so John can hand him a paper check that means nothing. It's about like, spreading the applaud to the people
Well,
that
yeah,
went
and
through this process.
the whole concept of this was goodwill to the whole township.
Well, right, it brings light to the Bow Trust Fund, the Hugh Hart Trust Fund, and it brings light to the work that you guys did for doing this,
I
right?
mean, like, one thing I was disappointed is we only got your application for Preston Hollow. Like,
Well, I'm a little disappointed too, because
You know,
I
like,
hear
I
constantly
know
how
I
the
sent it
Preston
to,
Hollow
I'm pretty sure I
Cemetery
sent it
needs
to the
money.
cemetery, and I'm pretty
Well,
sure
You
the,
sent it to my mother, she pretty much takes care of all those organizations
Yeah.
at once. I'm not sure where the cemetery got messed up, but
but
you know what? Next year, then they can apply again.
But hopefully for the word of mouth, knowing that the fire company got one this year, gee, why didn't we apply in,
Yeah.
you know, the future? That's my hope.
Doesn't even make sense.
And to think that Potter Hollow actually put in a couple, I thought was, because they're so rural, you know.
I think you did a good job getting it out. I don't think anybody can complain about that, and it's the first year. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with this. It's an annual thing. There'll be plenty of opportunity for people to
And as
put
I
in.
said, we know it's gotta,
You
there's
should be,
ways to
you should
improve
be
it.
grateful, because it's gonna be harder for you as a committee to, when you have too much and
Well,
not
that's-
enough people, then you're gonna be sitting around with your pencils trying to figure out who's
That's
gonna
why
get
we were
next.
hoping if we came in under budget, we'd have that little extra money to give next year.
Yeah, well, that's the attorney and laws and our great attorney general, so
Does it make,
sarcasm.
is there a cap on the grant? I don't remember how that.
We had a cap on it. John said the board wanted us to take the cap off, so we did. Initially, we had the startups being just $500 because we had no idea what craziness they were thinking up out there. And initially, it was 1,500 was our cap, and then I was shocked that that was the highest anybody asked.
So what do you think about, the reason I asked about the cap is that 743, what do you think about taking the applicants and increasing their amounts, say 10%? To work up that 20.
Whatever that you guys feel comfortable with to use up that extra money,
I was just,
you figure it
If you're
out.
giving them money that they didn't ask for, they don't need, obviously.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
the
the
things
fire
like the
company-
The
fire,
money will go back into the fund.
The fire
Even if
companies
that
ask for.
doesn't get handed over till next year, it's still going back into the fund.
yeah, but we won't be able to use it because it's only gonna be the interest. And I felt bad that the fire companies would have asked for 1,500,
yeah,
you know, but because I said $1,000, that's all they asked for.
fine.
So they couldn't use it, but they asked for 1,000.
Because that was the,
And so the fire companies could definitely use a little more money, I would think.
Yeah, but for example, the one asked for $300, gonna give them $330. They only need 300. I mean, if they would have wanted more, they would have given them.
No, there's nothing wrong with saving the money.
Exactly.
You know, we're just gonna, it's gonna help the perpetuity. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, I'll be quick. You're correct, we would have asked for more, we thought we could have only gone to what we asked for, that's why we did that, to be reasonable, but we could use more, the fire company, speak for Resident Volunteer Fire Company.
Always.
Thank you.
I mean, and I understand what Tony's saying, so if this goes back in, then, you know, knowing next year when we get it, this is what you have, then just blow it, you know what I mean?
You
This,
see,
this is gonna go back, it just, we're not gonna add $2,700 next year, cause we can according to the Attorney General. But, so next year, understand that the importance is next year, when we say you have, what was it, $17,265? And
and
make
that,
sure you blow 1,700.
and that's why we have to take off. I thought we took off all the dollar amounts.
we did. Well, no, we didn't for the ones that were gonna get it automatically.
It doesn't, let's not hash this out now, because it's done, we're not gonna go reinvent it.
No.
Let's
I'm
keep
just
this
saying
as
for the
in our
future.
lessons learned for
That's
next
for
year.
next year.
You know,
Exactly.
when we every year get a note from the Department of Environmental Conservation that says, we're giving you a forestry grant, it's open to the fire departments. We recommend, it's a 50% matching grant. We recommend that you spend in the area of $2,500 to $3,000. So that would be my thing next year when we hand out the letter. You say, we ask that your projects be between $1,000 and $2,000. You know it's gonna go up and we're gonna have maybe less money to do. So next year, the $1,000 cap may be more realistic. But I think that for this, they did a great job on it. It broke up well. Fire departments aren't gonna go bad if we don't get a little extra money. We get enough, not enough, but we're not gonna run out of fuel in the fire trucks. Let's just leave it the way that they said it. Take the $2,000, it'll be a little bit more than 10% this year. It'll go back into the fund, and then next year, we know that when we say there's $20,000 in interest, then we gotta give out $20,000 worth of grants. So when you're going down through it, if somebody asks for something, you can cut somebody back to give somebody a little more or whatever. It's just math, simple math, right? Moving the money around and award the grants. And I think that you guys should be part of the award process. I know you say you're just the committee, but
We
there's
were
a
told
tremendous
that by
amount.
the lawyer.
Well,
I mean, that's
you
where I,
can't get offended by what a
No,
lawyer
no,
says.
no.
If I was the case, I'd be
he
offended
told
every
us
day.
that was our only job. We were advisory committee
And
and
it's true, right? I
Wait,
mean,
it is
we
true.
need your help, but I'm just the fire, right? I just go to the fire, right? And so I hate when people say I'm just this. You did an important job. So now take a little credit for it and get the committee some credit. And then we'll move forward for next year. We got this was a system of checks and balances. It was simple. Now let's move forward and get the money out so people can spend it and see the rewards of $17,000 coming back to the community.
I agree with Brian.
thank you for,
I'm gonna caution not to tell people to spend money tomorrow because I do not have the okay from the lawyer to dispense the funds. I'm gonna be very clear on that. I need the attorney approval or the attorney general approval to give it to the attorney.
Say it to the hour. What's the matter?
I just wondered why the Attorney General was involved.
Because that's the rule in the law.
Because
We didn't, believe me, I didn't go to the Attorney General and say, could you handle it for us? I mean, that's the law,
So
right? That's
the
why we're
answer
paying
to
it.
that, if you've been involved with other town board meetings, because we've discussed it so many times, is that Jeffrey Bowe he left it a certain way. Whatever that legality is, I'm not well versed in it, but he left it to the town a certain way. And that comes with limitations. That's why we have to pay the attorney and pay all these other things just to get the ability.
It has been a significant amount of work just to be able to spend the interest. Like, we can't even touch the principal. So
It's been
it's
going on a year and a half,
too long, right?
way too long.
It's all been because of the fact, the way it was awarded to the town or gifted to the town. It has to go.
and because his lawyer died just before he died, so
Well, that
it
didn't
really
help.
screwed it all
Yeah,
up.
that didn't help.
See, even dead waters conspire with the live ones.
No, we're not making this up, so please don't think this is
Yeah.
our idea, but I
No,
would
I'm just
never,
curious.
I would have never allowed that to happen, because I'm not a big Attorney General fan of New York State. I don't care if that gal heard it.
Okay, so
Good. So I'll make a motion that we award, the amounts to the QHAR endowment fund, as recommended by the committee, in the total of $17,265, and that, the money will be issued upon receipt of a voucher and an invoice, and that anybody, who is in a financial hardship will have to work that out on an as basis with the town.
sure. And I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. Aye, motion carried. Okay, so, once again, please don't have people spending money yet. Okay, I need that approval.
And if they spend it, it's coming out of their pocket, so I
They're
would.
not, they need an award letter, right? And you can't spend money to a grant if you don't have an award letter. And any grant is like that. You can read the media ahead of time and see you're getting a grant. Until you get the actual grant letter, it means nothing. Okay, so we won't send out grant letters until you say we can send out grant letters, and I'll work on the wording with Vicky, and so be generic, I'm not gonna, so,
All right,
Thank you, guys.
thank you.
yes, thank you. Okay, last thing up would be spring cleaning. We do this every year for mulch, landscape beds, clean out the water beds, rake the rock from plowing in front of the building, and getting the lawns prepared. This year it went up $50, so it's $452.65 from MGS Lawn Care and Landscaping. They're donating the flowers again. Last year was $400. Actually, the prior years has been $400.
I'm fine with it. I was thinking about doing it ourselves, but we're not gonna buy the craft for $450, so might as well let somebody else do it. I'll make a motion, we,
Allow
allow
MGS.
the MVS to,
I'll
clean up the
second,
garden.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye, motion carried. All right, any other audience comments, please? I'm saving this for next month. If not, no audience comments?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.